Hello everyone, my name is Shambhavi. Hope you all are doing well. So we had already finished out that what is pickling and what is unpickling, right? We had already finished out these two topics in the previous videos. Now today we'll be seeing about some pickling exceptions. That what are the pickling exceptions that come and basically what is that exception actually meant, right? This is what we are gonna cover today. After that, we'll be even seeing the pros and cons as well of the pickling and unpickling. Right? This is all the things that we are going to discuss today. So it does not take too much time in the discussion of the topic. Let's move forward. Let's see about the exceptions, and within that only I'll just let you know whatever relevant things are there. Okay. So first of all, let's discuss about the pickle exceptions. Okay. So I would just write here pickle and then exceptions. So we go here with the heading. Okay. Now, what is the first pickle exception that actually we have here? So the very first exception is pickle. So we get it like pickle dot pickling error. Pickle dot pickling, and that is error. Okay, this is the very first exception that we actually get. Pickle dot pickling error. So what does this means actually? So it means that if the pickle object does not supports the pickling, so this exception is actually raised. Okay, so let's say like the object which you have made, so that pickle object does not supports the pickling. Okay, so in that case this type of error are raised. So I would just write that thing as well here, that if pickle object, okay, just make sure to write out this word here as well, that is object. Okay, if pickle object does not doesn't support pickling. Okay, let me come down here. Okay, if pickle object does not support pickling, so here we go like this. Okay, this is how we just like like say that whenever we just get out an error, that is exception rate like pickle dot pickling error. So in that case you must understood that the pickle object is not supporting your pickling technique which you are actually using, right? So change out some object name or something like this, just do whatever is relevant in that case, right? This is the very first exception that is actually like that actually occurs, right? Second one exception which I would be talking is that is pickle dot un, that is un. Okay, pickle dot unpickling. Okay, let me write out the correct spelling first of all. Pickle dot unpickling error. Okay, now this is the second one that actually occurs, that is pickle dot unpickling error. So in this case actually what happens, so in this case a file contains bad or a corrupted data. So whenever you just get out some error that like pickle dot unpickling error, so just quickly understand that okay, the file which you have taken that contains some bad or some correct or some corrupted data. So just figure that exception here. So let me just write that thing in here as well, that in case the file contains bad or uncorrupted like this data. Okay, so this is what pickle dot unpickling error means actually, that in this case a file contains bad or uncorrupted data, right? So whenever you just get exception, that is actually pickle dot unpickling error, so just sort that out. Fine. Now moving towards the third one we have, that is EOF error. This is the third exception which actually occurs. Now what do we meant from this EOF error? So EOF, first of all, the full form for this EOF is end of file actually. Okay, so in this case the end of file is detected. Okay, this exception is raised whenever you take like end of file is detected. Basically you have not closed the brackets, you had opened the bracket but you haven't closed that out. So on all of those cases this EOF error occurs, that is end of file. So while writing your sentence, while completing your sentence, at the last of your sentence somewhere you just missed out putting out the closing bracket. In the starting you have opened that out, right? But after putting that out you just missed that particular thing. So in that case this EOF error actually occurs. So let me just write that here, that in case the end of file is detected. This basically this EOF one is actually a very common error. detected right here. It is a very common error, so just remember out the full form for EOF, that is actually end of file. Do not forget that. So from the name only you can just remember that whenever it is get end of file. So check out your lines where you have put on the brackets and where you have closed out your brackets. Okay, somewhere there you have missed out something. That is why this types of error comes to you. Okay. Now, this is over. These were the three ones. These were the three exceptions that we need to handle, that are called the pickle exceptions. Okay, first one was pickle.pickling error. It means that if pickle object doesn't support the pickling, this was the one, right? Second, we have pickle.unpickling error. So this means that in case the file contains bad or uncorrupted data. And third one is EOF error. So it means that in case the end of file is detected. Right, now let's move towards the pros. Prawns. Okay, this is the one, now the topic which we are going to discuss today. Fine. Now, okay, so let's start here. Let me just take out the color so that we can start writing it out. Okay, let me just go here, and from here let me just take out this one. Right here, let's start with the one, and let me get out some space for me as well. Fine, so let the first prawns which we'll be discussing right now here, that is comes. Prawns actually means the advantages. Another name for advantages is prawns, and cons means the disadvantages. Okay, right. So comes handy to save complicated data, complicated data. Okay, so the first advantage is there that you can just save out to complicated data in a very common way, like comes handy to save the complicated data. Okay, now second advantage that we can discuss is that it is first of all easy to use. This that we had already seen, right? In the previous video we had seen about how to do the pickling and how to do the unpickling. So pickling was super easy, right? Only reading out the file, the writing out the file, that was all which we had done, right? So it is easy to use. Comma, lighter, comma, lighter, and doesn't require, and does not require several lines of codes, right? Several line of code, right? So basically this one is easy to use and lighter to use, and basically the very important thing is that it does not require several lines of code, right? When we had just done out the pickling, so in that we had seen that we had not written out a very long code, right? That was around 5 to 10 lines of code which we were actually written for doing out the pickling. So this is same that it doesn't require too much of lines of code, right? Now moving towards the next, what I could just put on the third one, that the pickle file generated, which like the pickle file which is generated. Okay, let me come down. Okay, so the pickle file which is generated is not at all easy. It is not easily readable, readable, and thus provides some security actually. Okay, and it basically provides some security. So we all know that whenever a file is not easily readable, so this means that a file is a little bit more secure, right? Anyone cannot access that file and just read out all the things which are written here. So the pickle file which is actually generated, that is not easily readable, so it means that it provides some security, right? This is what I just meant from here. Fine. So these are the three advantages which we have discussed. First one, that it comes handy to save complicated data. Second one, it is easy to use, lighter, and does not require several lines of code. And the third one is basically the pickled file generated is not easily readable and thus provides some security. Right, these were the pros. And now let's move towards the cons. Cons means the disadvantages that we have here. So let me just write that cons here. Fine, let me just take out a color so that we can proceed on with the writing. So right here, fine. Now my very first cons which I'll be discussing out here is, first one is languages other than Python, other than languages other than Python may not may not able to reconstruct languages other than Python may not be able to reconstruct pickled Python objects. Pickled Python objects. So basically, other languages like the other programming languages which we have other than Python, so they may not be able to reconstruct the pickled Python objects, right? This is what is the very first disadvantage of the pickling, right? Now, second disadvantage which we have, it has basically, okay, let me just come down a little bit. Fine. Okay. Second one is risk of unpickling data data risk of unpickling data from malicious sources. So malicious sources, right? So these are the two disadvantages which we have here in the pickling, right? So I hope that you had got very much clear idea regarding the exceptions, regarding the advantages and regarding disadvantages that we have discussed here in this particular video. Right, so I hope that you have got a very fair idea that how to deal with the exceptions, like what's the advantages that why we use pickling, and what are the disadvantages that why you should not I just not say that you should not use pickling, but why we just like rarely use that, why just not use that too much. Okay, so I just hope that you have got all the three things from this particular video, right? So this is all for this video. Till then, thank you and take care.